landscape you can imagine, and some hardworking people. It's a very agricultural-oriented country, and you heard me say before that agriculture is going to be one of the greatest professions over the next 20 or 30 years. So New Zealand has a terrific future as far as I'm concerned. If you don't mind being in a country with only 4 million people, and you don't mind being far, far away from everything, I mean, I know people who move to New Zealand and absolutely, totally fall in love and never leave. It's so wonderful. My wife keeps saying, why don't we move to New Zealand and buy a vineyard and raise sheep? She loves it there too. So it depends on your outlook.
Sure. And the New Zealand dollar, would you ever put your money in there?
I own New Zealand dollars. I certainly do own New Zealand dollars. One caveat, the problem with any currency these days, Patrick, is there are always negatives on any currency, no matter how good the outlook. And I do own the New Zealand dollar. But it's, the politicians there have a habit of spending too much money at times, and it causes weaknesses in the dollar. But if I'm right, and agriculture is going to be great, that will overcome even the craziness of New Zealand politicians.
So then can I extrapolate from what you're saying, Jim Rogers, and even though you're a strong, hard money guy, a commodities guy, that you still always, it seems to me that you're always diversifying rather than putting everything in, like just buying a bunch of gold and just sitting on that?
Well, I don't diversify. Diversification is something that stockbrokers came up with to protect themselves, so they don't get sued. No, nobody's ever gotten rich diversifying.
Oh, you don't diversify?
No, I try to focus. That's how you make a lot of money. Now, it may sound like I diversify, but if you remember, I was talking about Canadian currency. Well, that's because it's a commodity-based economy. New Zealand is an agricultural-based economy.
I see.
So it all fits together into one theme, which is that the place to be these days with your money is in real assets, and there are various ways to play or to invest. Earlier in the program, we were talking about other ways to invest in real assets. Currencies or other economies is another way.
I see. So you're still going for the gold, so to speak, in the way of something that's real with a limited value that you believe people are going to want in the next 5, 10, 20 years.
Well, absolutely. I want to be in the countries or the products or the items or the currencies where things are going to be getting better. And if I'm right, the main thing is real assets, whether it's gold or zinc or silver or cotton, oil, whatever it happens to be. That's where the money's going to flow, and that's how you protect yourself.
One of the big news today, of course, is Chrysler has announced their bankruptcy, and then the GM now is going to be state-owned. Well, what's your take on this whole auto thing and the government's involvement, and what's your take on this?
Well, rather than go bankrupt and for the government to take them over, I mean, it's mind-boggling again. Karl Marx must be, wherever Karl Marx is, the poor guy, must be having a wonderful time because, now the American financial system is largely owned by the U.S. government. Now the automobile industry is going to be owned by the U.S. government. I mean, that's worse than socialism. That's pure communism. That's what Karl Marx begs for decades, and now he's got the most successful country in the world actually adopting many of the things that he said would happen. So I don't like it at all because I know it's not good for America down the road. 10 years from now, we're all going to look back and say, oh, my God, how did this happen? How did America become so inefficient and so uncompetitive by letting the government own and run everything? Chrysler and GM have made horrible mistakes over the past 30 years. The management has given away many things to the unions. The unions have demanded and gotten many things. And now they are having to pay the price. Unfortunately, it's like you and I are going to have to pay the price too, Patrick, because some of these companies are going to be guaranteed by, funded by, or even owned by the U.S. government. I think it's good that they're going bankrupt because at least maybe they will clean out some of the inefficient practices and some of the absurd things that they have done, giveaways they've done over the decades. But in the meantime, it's certainly not helping. I mean, it's not good for the people who get directly affected by this, but there are 300 million Americans, and I don't think 300 million Americans should have to pay them for the mistakes of a few thousand people on Wall Street or in Detroit or wherever they happen to be. We
still continue to hear a large number, Jim Rogers, of this derivatives number, like sometimes even $500-600 trillion. I don't know what the number is, but How is all this gonna play out? Because it's hard for us to grasp what that even means to the value of the dollar in the years to come. This huge derivative number that's still hanging out there.
Well, Patrick, I wouldn't worry that you don't know how big the number of derivatives are.
It doesn't matter at this point.
Nobody knows. Well, nobody knows, first of all, and it's gigantic. You are the main point. You're right. It doesn't matter because it is so stupendous. Yes, amazing how big it is. How's it going to play out? It's going to play out with more bankruptcies, more pain. The people who've gotten them and who don't understand them are going to suffer because many of them didn't know what they were doing. Some people are obviously going to make a huge fortune out of all of this. The people who understand what they were doing and know where they're going and what they're doing will make fortunes, as has always happened. You know, Patrick, in the 1930s and the Great Depression, there were people who made a lot of money. There were people who laid the foundations for great fortunes when many other people were suffering. So there's always somebody who's figuring things out and succeeding. It's one of the things I try to explain to my children in this book, you know, a gift to my children. How to do that, how to live your life, how to prepare yourself, because the world is always changing. Don't be afraid of change. Don't deny change. Try to see change and accept change and capitalize on change.
Was there something special, that you can, off the top of your head, with your upbringing, with your mother and father, that allowed you to be in this so open and kind of basic kind of ideas about life that you have?
Well, I don't know. I do know that my parents, I grew up in a very small town in the backwoods of Alabama. We didn't have a lot of money, and I knew I learned at a very early age that one had to work for money, that money was not easy to get, and that if one did earn money, one should save as much as one can. And if one did save some money, if you could figure out good investments, that you should make those good investments, because that would help you have even more money and do even better. I can only attribute it to my upbringing, which is why I've written this book for my little girls, so that they learn these. I hope they learn these lessons too. I make my 5-year-old make her bed. I make her clean up her room, and she gets paid for doing these things. And then most of the time, she puts the money in her piggy banks.
Ah, yeah. I was going to ask you about that because, of course, you've done well. You could probably give her whatever you want, but that, I guess, you feel is not going to be the way you're going to do it.
No, I'm not going to. No, I'm certainly not going to give them whatever they want. No, first of all, I don't have a whole lot myself. I'm not interested. I don't even own a car. My wife has a car, but I don't even have a car, for instance. So I don't need a whole lot of money, but I'm certainly not going to give them. No, they're going to have to earn everything. Now, don't get me wrong. Sure. We do give them birthday presents. We do give them Christmas presents, etc. But for the most part, I'm making them trying to earn their own way. You can ask me in 30 years if I'm doing it right.
And so far, Singapore has been good, and you think that's going to be your place for a while?
Well, we're here. I want my children to grow up speaking Chinese, and this is a place where they can. My 5-year-old goes to a school where half the teachers are Chinese and half speak English, so she's learning both English and Chinese. And it's got a very, very, very good education system, extremely good healthcare system. Everything works here. So, no, we're here. We're still Americans. We're still American citizens and vote and pay taxes. But this is where we're living, at least for the foreseeable future.
Here's an email from Leanne in New York. First one from New York tonight. She says, I'm enjoying the show. Thanks, Mr. Rogers, for being on the show. Can you give her some help? I'm going to paraphrase because it's kind of a long email. She's having real pangs about her retirement funds, which are all in mutual funds and stock market, and now she's hearing that this may be a sucker rally, and she wants to know if it gets up to 9,000 or 95, should she get out and do something else with her money because it's all she has?
Well, Leanne, I'll tell you how I see the world, but you should not listen to me or anybody else. You should make your own decisions. But I will tell you that I see that the rally, we got a very powerful rally going on. First of all, whenever you have a big collapse, as we did, we had a collapse of historic proportions. Whenever you've had a big collapse, you usually have a big rally. Nothing goes down every quarter or even every year. In the 1930s, there was at one point the stock market went up 50%, a couple of times, in fact. It went up dramatically, only to sucker everybody in and then really wipe everybody out. I see that happening again. I see this rally is not a real rally. Whether it's going to last a quarter or a year, I don't know. My plan is to sell the rally somewhere along the line and put my money into other things. What